everyone, and welcome back to the vlog. It's a real crispy cold morning and I'm at Loch Eilein in the Rothiemurchus in the Cairngorms, and it's a beautiful morning. We've got some lovely soft light, a little bit of cloud in the sky, so I'm hoping today to get some nice pictures of some of the beautiful pines. Obviously we've got the Loch as well, and yeah, it should be a beautiful day for some good images, so let's see what we can find. Okay, so I think I've come across my first image. It's funny how there's an incredible amount of pressure, I think, especially when you're vlogging, to take that first image. You really relax once you have, and of course there's a lot of work involved, obviously mainly for Corin behind the camera there, but there's a lot of work involved in capturing, arriving to a place and the scene and everything, so then to actually not come across an image can be a little bit sort of daunting. So getting the first one in the bag is always a real relief. So we've got 3 pines here, Scots pines, just right by the edge of the loch. I'm not really focusing in on the loch. What I'm looking at is these beautiful roots that are working their way down the bank. I mean, really, this whole bank is just a mass of roots. But in particular, we've got these beautiful 3 pines, and the light is coming in from the left behind the hills there. So we've got a real nice early morning soft light that is hitting those trees. We've got the beautiful greenery of the pines that are just draping over. So we've got a lovely colour contrast. We've still got some nice browns in the tree within the bark, and yeah, it's a nice scene. I'm shooting on ISO 200. You can probably see that there's a fair bit of wind because of the big loch. The wind's sweeping across it and causing quite a bit of movement in those branches there. So I'm just waiting for the small lulls within the wind just to capture that image. So ISO 200, I'm on my 28-70 lens, and I'm shooting at around about a third of the second. So really it's a case of just waiting for the wind to stop, and here's the image. So some interesting facts. Loch Eilein actually means Loch of the Island, and just behind the camera there is a small island with an old castle, only the ruins of the castle, which supposedly, I think it dates back roughly to the 14th century, and there's not a lot of information about it, but it's a beautiful loch. This is not one of my normal places I would come to photograph. The actual loch it's a bit of a tourist attraction, but this time of the year, I mean, we're in late January, there's nobody around and it's absolutely beautiful. You've just got the sort of sounds of the loch coming up against the sides of the bank, the birds in the trees. It's so peaceful. Okay, so I've come across my second shot and I'm just walking along the main path here, and it does show you that you do need to keep your eyes open for these small scenes. And I was walking along, I just noticed, I mean, we've got this beautiful gnarly pine that sits right on the edge of the path and with its roots coming down, which is absolutely beautiful. And then looking through the gap, we've got the light coming from the left and it's just hitting that pine in the distance through the gap. I'll just show you on the back of my camera what I'm looking at. So you can see just sort of, you're not going to see my finger that clearly, but just in the middle of this scene, we've got the light coming through and the pine in the background. So that gives us a point of focus, that draws your eye in through the picture. And then we've got the right-hand side is framed by this beautiful gnarly pine tree that comes out and across, and that itself is creating a little bit of a frame for that pine that's catching the light in the distance. And you know, the path, it's not great, but we're really not looking at that at all. We're just focusing in on this beautiful gnarly tree and the lovely textures that are in that bark. I mean, it's obviously been there a long time, and I'm sure that lots of people have walked past it and sort of perhaps not even noticed it, but it's beautiful. And you've got the roots that come in towards your picture. I'm shooting on a long lens, and what that does is it helps compress the image. So that pine in the background there is going to be drawn in towards the lovely big gnarly pine. I'll take a few shots. I don't know whether it's going to be a portfolio shot, but you know, the light's beautiful. And it really does capture some of the sort of forest scenery that's here. So we'll take a couple of shots and here it is. Okay, so I've come across this real lovely scene. Just on the edge of the loch here, we've got these little turf clumps that are coming up out of the water, and some of them have got these little wee, I'm guessing they're sort of small pines that are coming out of them. And I've been moving around backwards and forwards, just trying to sort of find a nice composition. What I'm really loving about this image is that we've got the reflections of the trees coming down from the opposite bank. The light's behind me, so we're getting some nice light coming down onto the water and to the scene and to that lovely little clump. But we've also got, up on the back of the hills, we've got some lovely silver birches, which have got a pink colour to them. It's that wintry colour, and that is reflecting just down on the front of the image, so it's just adding a little bit of colour too. The water's quite dark, so that helps punch out the little wee tree, which I've got the light coming down behind me, so it's giving it just that lovely little bit of lighting. And I'm just going to take a couple of shots. What I've been waiting for is the wind just to die down, because what's happening is the water's just catching the wind, and then that captures the light, and that's just too bright for the image. And what I'm looking for is a real nice dark water scene that really helps punch out my small little tree. And I'm just going to take a few shots now. So I'm shooting on my 80-200 lens, and I've got a polarizer on the front, really to sort of cut back as much of the light, reflective light, as possible and help punch out those reflections. And I'm on f16. I'm trying to sort of slow up the exposure as well, as long as possible. So f16, ISO 64. The nice thing about the small little tree is even when there's a bit of a breeze, it's not moving at all. It's quite sturdy there. So we'll just keep waiting, just for that breeze just to stop, just so that we lose that bright reflective light behind it. So looking on the back of the camera, you can see we've got the lovely reflections of the trees that are coming down behind. So it's just adds that little bit of interest to this, because we're going to keep it very minimal as much as possible. And I've given plenty of space around my image so that I can decide, when I get it back on the computer, I can decide how I crop it. Although I'm thinking like a long panoramic sort of shot would be beautiful with this, just keeping in some of those reflections. I'll move around a little bit, but I've come across this position because this is where I'm really capturing the lovely silver birches and the pink on the front there as well. There's a few other little clumps around, so I'll move about, but yeah, it really is a real nice, simple, soft, delicate scene. And here's the image. Well, I think that's about it for today. We've really had the best of the light, although this time of the year, I love the way the golden light stays nice and low and we get those lovely, warm, soft shadows. And it certainly has been a bit of a mix of images. We started off at the beginning just worrying about making sure we get that first shot and then relaxing into the day, which has been really nice. And we've gone from beautiful pine trees with the lovely bark to real soft reflections in the water. And I think that's always nice when you do get a bit of a mixture. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you have, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode. Click the bell so you get notifications, and do leave me a comment down the bottom. I really do enjoy hearing from you, and look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thanks a lot.